So let's just start to talk about a little bit more about the conscious and the subconscious mind. We have the brain, but actually the brain, it's more like an organ. It's more like the eyes. And even Buddha said, like 2500 years ago or even more, he said that the brain acts as a receiver for the thoughts. With the brain, we capture thoughts and we process thoughts, and then these processes lead to certain outcomes within our speakingness, within our actions, within our physicality, as it expresses through our body as a health or as a sickness. And actually, the mind, the concept of the mind, is larger than the concept of the brain. It's like you would say that the mind is part. It's we can speak actually of a personal mind and the universal mind, and our personal mind is part and interconnected with the universal mind. When we speak about the whole universal mind, this universal mind contains the content of the evolution of consciousness throughout millennia, since ever since the humanity was created. It evolved since Homo neanderthalensis or whatever other species were even before that. The every thought and every emotion and every event is actually kept as a memory in this database that some call the Akashic fields, or the field of consciousness that represents this plane, this domain, this planet. And Carl Jung, he was a psychoanalyst. He was a student of Freud. He called this the collective unconscious, in which we share all. We actually put information there, but also we receive and we are fed constantly from it. And then there is the personal unconscious or the personal subconscious, and we will talk about the layers in a minute. This personal unconscious is actually the subtotal of all the happenings of your soul since your soul was created. I don't know what you believe your soul is, but more or less it's a set of programs. So it is very special because it is your special story. But it's like, since God said, oh, you should be, you would be a good idea, your soul started to evolve through universes, and even in this universe through different dimensions, out of which the earth is just one of them. And in all this evolution of consciousness that you went through, you accumulated preferences and aversions, and you grew in your perception about what is real and what is not, what is possible and what is not. You personally, even when you were born in this body, you already came with a view about God, what it is God or what it's not God, how you should relate yourself to this instance. So you already came with a personal history in this body. More so, when you arrived in this body, you actually received the part of the collective unconscious, which is the collective of the unconscious of your family, your ancestors, your genetic inheritance. And this is, all these are topics to different fields of study. For example, even outside Theta Healing, the psychogenealogy or metagenealogy studies the programs that you receive from your great-grandparents and up to tens of generations back. And then what you put forward in your offsprings. And then there is the field, as I said, of the collective unconscious, which is the subject of psychoanalysis, but not psychoanalysis per se, but of psychodynamic approaches, which derived out of the teachings of Carl Jung, or understandings of Carl Jung, because he was not necessarily, well, he was teaching, you know, more from his writings than from his teachings. So you have this unconscious or this subconscious, and then there is a part of you which is conscious about your subconscious or not. And there are many people who think that when they speak about themselves, they say, well, this is who I am, and this is what I think, and this is it, and this is the extent of it. They see themselves as like they would be written in stone. They look at the let's say, they look at parts of themselves as unchangeable. But to some extent, they actually have the capacity to at least look at themselves. So they look at themselves, there are things that they like about themselves, and then there are things that they don't like about themselves. And most of the people on the planet, as you will probably realize, are stopping at this level, and they say, well, that's it, there's nothing I can do about myself, or all I can do is fight against my own instincts with my willpower, and try to overcome the external obstacles. And then there are people who start to think about stuff more and to question themselves. How did they come to be? How did they become what they become? How this becoming happens? And when they start this inquiry, they discover these terms like the subconscious or preconscious or unconscious. And these are just names for parts, bits, and pieces of pretty much information that it's not directly accessible, but is accessible for you, and you might be capable of changing what you find there. So this is what I understood so far about these topics. So you have the conscious mind, which is alert, which makes decision, which uses intention, and then with its personal power makes things happen to the extent that they can happen. And then there is this unconscious part. And if you read the Bruce Lipton or listen to him, you will realize that in the subconscious programming, we have over 3 trillion programs. These programs, most of them are useful, are beneficial for us. It's about how you use the fork, or how you open a door, or how you wash your teeth. So now, not everything in the subconscious is relevant to look at or to change. But this is, as I said, what's important about this is that when you learn more about, you will realize that the power ratio, it's 1 to a million. So the subconscious mind, it's 1 million times stronger and more active in your life than it's your conscious mind. People think that they are more conscious than they actually are, but if you look at our daily life, you realize that you are not even required in your life. Your decisions are almost automatic. You know what coffee you prefer, you know what toothpaste you prefer, you know what clothes you prefer according to the weather or to the persons you are going to meet. So you are pretty much all set, even if you don't think at all. Even thinkingness is just blah blah blah. It's a mixture of songs and recollections and plans, but these also happen based on pre-programming from people who told you that this idea would be good, and this plan or this field would be interesting, or that thing you should keep in mind and never forget. So you can even go like in total oblivion about being present, and you can go about your daily business and life will take care of you. What I'm inviting you to consider is that there is this next level of living your life more aware of the inner universe, and also of the outer universe, and how the inner reflects in the outer. And instead of I don't know, maybe working so much to change the world outside, see how you could change the world inside. There is one dude went to David Hawkins, who was a great master, and asked him, by the way, sir, what do you think, what's the best thing, how should I go about changing the world? And David, I think paraphrasing Ramana Maharshi, said, you better go home and just do nothing, because the world that you see doesn't even exist. And first time you hear this, it's like, how is that even possible? What do you mean the world that I see does not exist? It's because we are not experiencing the world as it is, but we are constantly filtering reality through our pre-programs. For example, if outside is raining, I can see that it's raining, but I already have an opinion whether I like that it's raining, or I hate that it's raining, or it's going to be useful for me today that it's raining, or it's not going to be useful for me that it's raining. So I don't see the world as just rain. I see a rain which messes up my schedule or helps my schedule, and I have a relationship. I develop an emotionality, and I develop thinkingness around something that it's just rain. And that's why it's very useful to see that sometimes we even think about people who never think about us. We think about problems that actually are not there, and we consume a lot of energy for things that do not help our growth, or neither do they improve our quality of existence.